What were the main points of the April Theses? If you're curious about the pivotal moments in Russian history, particularly the Russian Revolution, you might have heard of Lenin's April Theses. But what exactly did these theses entail? Let's break it down. When Vladimir Lenin returned to Russia in April 1917, after being in exile for 10 years, he found the country in a state of turmoil. There were two main powers: the provisional government, which represented the bourgeoisie, and the Soviets of workers and peasants' deputies, which represented the masses. Lenin saw an opportunity to shape the revolution and presented his ideas in what became known as the April Theses. The April Theses were a series of directives that Lenin presented to the April Conference of the Bolsheviks. Here are the key points. First, Lenin called for the immediate withdrawal of Russia from World War I. He believed that continuing the war would only benefit the capitalist class and harm the working class. Next, he advocated for the transfer of power from the provisional government to the Soviets. Lenin argued that the Soviets, which were councils of workers and peasants, were the true representatives of the people and should be the governing bodies. Lenin also demanded land redistribution to the peasants. This was a critical issue because many peasants were landless and suffering under the old feudal system. By giving land to the peasants, Lenin aimed to win their support for the revolution. Another significant point was the nationalization of banks, land, and key industries. Lenin believed that by taking control of these sectors, the state could ensure that resources were distributed fairly and that the capitalist class could no longer exploit the workers. Lenin proposed the creation of a new type of government, a republic of Soviets of workers and peasants' deputies. This would be a government run by the people, for the people, rather than by a parliamentary system that he saw as ineffective. He also emphasized the need for a new international policy, one that would promote true internationalism and oppose imperialist wars. This meant that Russia should not only end its involvement in world war but also support other socialist movements around the world. Lastly, Lenin suggested renaming the Bolshevik Party to the Communist Party to reflect its true ideological stance and to distinguish it from other socialist groups. These theses were revolutionary because they rejected the old Bolshevik strategy of supporting a democratic revolution led by the bourgeoisie. Instead, Lenin pushed for a socialist revolution led by the proletariat and the peasants. The April Theses were initially met with skepticism by some Bolsheviks, but Lenin's persuasive arguments and leadership eventually won over the majority of the party. This shift in strategy was instrumental in the success of the October Revolution later that year, which saw the Bolsheviks seize power and establish the world's first socialist state. In essence, the April Theses were a call to action, outlining a clear vision for a socialist revolution and setting the stage for the dramatic events that would follow in Russia.